The city of Boston makes it marvellously easy to take a hike through the story of American independence, thanks to the Freedom Trail, a 2.5-mile walk that begins here at the Visitor Information Centre on Boston Common. Good news for me today, I've got a guide, and here she is. Hello.
Good morning.
I'm Simon, and you must be?
I'm Mary Clapham.
I must say that us Brits are just a little bit rusty on the very important story of American independence, so you're going to make it easy for me?
I'll make it as easy as I can, and understandably, you had a lot going on yourselves at the time, I understand, and we think everything has turned out marvelously, and I hope everybody likes what we've done with your town.
Boston Common itself was location for some unhappy events perpetrated by the Puritans.
Whippings, pilloryings, and even hangings for all those who did not comply with the code of conduct that everyone was expected to stick with.
Next stop, the Meeting House, where on the 16th of December 1773, the American revolutionaries planned a tea party aboard 3 British ships in Boston Harbour.
Samuel Adams stood up at the end of the meeting and said, "Gentlemen, this meeting can do no more to save our country." After the meeting closed, the Sons of Liberty went into action, boarded the ships, threw the tea into the harbor, and many date the actual revolution from that act. King George certainly saw it that way.
The Old Statehouse, another critical location.
Now that balcony is a very famous place. On July the 18th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was first read to the people of Boston, and they celebrated by tearing down the lion and the unicorn, symbols of Britain. But a few hundred years later, on our nation's bicentennial, July the 4th, 1976, Queen Elizabeth herself took part in the annual reading of the Declaration on July the 4th. And at that time, she was presented with a check for $35,000. Well, we still owed her for the tea, you know.
Here's an important man on his horse. His name you may have heard of, Paul Revere, but you may not be absolutely certain what he's famous for. Mary?
He's mostly known because of a poem that Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote on the eve of the American Civil War. He told the story of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. Revere was a messenger for the Committee of Safety. He was sent out to the towns of Lexington and Concord to warn the militia that redcoats were on their way. To Lexington to arrest John Hancock and Samuel Adams, and to Concord to seize a hold of some military supplies. There is where the shot heard round the world that started the American Revolutionary War was fired.
And it was all downhill from there, from the British point of view. If you need to rest your tired legs along the Freedom Trail, then this is the place to do it. A beautiful garden beside the Old North Church, which is an important part of the Paul Revere story.
Paul Revere had arranged for a signal of lanterns to be hung in the steeple of the church. He knew that from the steeple you could see over to Charlestown, where the militia would be waiting to find out which way the redcoats would be leaving Boston, by the land route or being ferried across the river to Cambridge. So on that night, 2 lanterns were hanged up there in the steeple, letting the Charlestown militia know that they could expect to find the soldiers marching from Cambridge.
Here we are at Bunker Hill Monument. Mary, it's the end of the Freedom Trail. Is it the end of the independence story?
Well, certainly not, but this does mark the site of the final battle of the American Revolution that was fought here in New England.
It was here that the revolutionary commander, Colonel Prescott, told his troops, "Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes." Best of all, you can climb to the very top of the Bunker Hill Monument, 221 feet, which is what I'm going to do. And let's see how long it takes. Oh, starting now. This virtuous spiral leads to a splendid panorama of America's revolutionary metropolis. 8 minutes, 3 seconds, 294 steps, there and back.